So Apex denied my payout with literally 100% win rate. I was blown away. So I'm not going to fib. It's been a learning curve. Obviously, this video is not in any shape, way, or form to speak any nonsense against Apex. My big goal, my big plan is right here. So I'm seeing the course. I'm just here to kind of share my journey with you guys, talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And hopefully, as I improve, you get to learn from what I do right and what I do wrong. And we all get to go and grow together. So let's start with the basics. I had started features this year being 2025. Now we're in 2026, the time of this recording. We're a couple of days in. I had played around a little bit, but most of my trading experience was more swing trading, intraday, larger amounts of capital, smaller amounts of risk, ability to hold for endless amounts of days, trust my analysis, and let the trade play out. Obviously, this has been a complete learning curve, not to mention platforms, methodologies in terms of like, hey, buy stop, sell stop equals take profit, stop loss, not to mention the copiers, the scaling ends, the rules, the MAE, the consistency, the trailing drawdown. Like, what the heck? How do you blow an account when you're in the green? Like, all of these things were very foreign to me. I will say, by the end of this journey, Apex will have made me a better trader. So that is what I'm sticking to. That's the story I'm sticking to. But in the meantime, there's still some work to be done. I was recently denied a payout, and I'll kind of show you that as well, for the max adverse excursion rule. And you're going to see I did that literally on day one. So again, that's a human mistake. I own that. That's on me 100%. But on this account, it is the same account, which I'll show you that here in a second. But ultimately, I was originally using Apex as a testing methodology for like a lot of automation. So I was buying 20 accounts at a time. Obviously, they're not that hard to pass if you're a decent trader. Pass them by the next evals equals a $2,000 bill and literally no payout. So I have backed off of that. In general, I'm running about 5 accounts at a time for the most part with Apex. No more, because I want to be a better steward of my money, as well as smart about what I'm doing. I do, however, need to be mindful of, and yeah, I took a loss, but that's not during the payout period. So I'll tell you that in a second. But anyways, I do want to be more mindful of, I feel like most of the people who have withdrawn more than 50% of what they've spent are now getting those emails that say, hey, you can't buy any more evals. So I want to always have a ongoing roster of evals coming in. That's kind of my strategy. Hopefully it kind of works out. And of course, the long-term goal is to hold the accounts long-term. I'm not going to dare say that I've had a lot of luck with that. I have gotten some payouts, nowhere near to the tune of what I've spent, and nowhere near consistency. So I have been able to be consistent on a lot of other firms. Apex still eludes me by a lot. So it's kind of like my white horse, if you will, my unicorn that I'm kind of aiming for. So either way, we started this account. This was a PA account, started on the 15th. So you can kind of see the right account number is right there. Put both of them up at the same time. You can see this was sent out, right account number right there. On day one, I did not have the half size button clicked on this account, so I ended up taking more contracts than I should have. Otherwise, I should have never hit that level of drawdown. If it had taken 1 contract instead of 2 contracts, it would have been just fine. Either way, that's the day you have the least amount of room. I was just blown away by the time I got to here. Literally 100% win rate, okay? And most of these trades did not go against me by very much. You got to think, on the amount of contracts I held, I literally closed this trade at what would equal about a 1-to-1, actually greater than a 1-to-1 in all fairness. But that was enough to kind of mess up that MAE rule, which just kind of stinks. Either way, requested payout here on the 24th, kind of got that day in, got that denial here, and now, of course, we're going to kind of keep running. So this account currently has $23,000 worth of profit with a 96% win rate. I do have a loss here in January that I'll show you in a second. A very impressive profit factor of 25-to-1. The only reason why this is so good is because it's locking me out so quickly. It's not taking the rest of the stuff on the day, right? So for the most part, this is knocking me out on trade 1, possibly trade 2, and I'm done. So there's not a lot of excursions. There's not a lot of drawdown unless that first trade pops. It's been kind of good. So for the month of January, this is where I hit that loss. So that's where you're going to see that 96%. Still closed and hit targets for Friday. Took my quick couple of trades. It was kind of a weird trading day on these days. But overall, not a bad way to be. I'm averaging a very consistent amount of profit. I'm using a very consistent amount of targets. And my big goal with them is ultimately that 6- and 7-figure payout. So if I pull up my calculator, figure I'm averaging $1,500 a day. And this is by 5 accounts. Okay. On average. So you got to factor in some losses and some no trade days, I'm sure. That's about $7,500 a day. And these, granted, are 150K accounts. If I can maintain these accounts for 60 trading days, which we know is going to be close to 3 months, a little bit less than 3 months. That's close to $500,000. That's my goal. If I can reach $500,000 or $1 million, remember, that's only 5 accounts. I could easily do this with more accounts, but I just got tired of the loophole of having so many accounts. I'd like to try to keep 10 accounts or less. Right now, I want the consistency before I kind of hold that many. I do have quite a few past ones that I'm going to wait to activate every couple of days and maybe add to a little bit just to get the trading days in. But that's that. So I wanted to share this live on YouTube to again, hold myself accountable. You can see again, this is the same account number that I showed you from before. Currently up $23,000 profit trades, 26,000. You can kind of see what that loss is. This is showing a win rate of 87%. So it is a little bit off from trade solid. They're always going to be a little bit off. Nothing is ever exactly right. I tell people to plan for a 10 to 20% buffer and they get upset about it. But in my experience, that's very, very accurate. You can see that the loss was very digestible considering at the time, this still had $22,000 of profit. So that's not bad at all. That's the loss that I took on Friday last week. Overall, everything very, very good. I'm trying also to hold my trades a little longer to accommodate funding Tix's new rule, which has been a lot of fun, to say the least. But that's how the account is looking. This one is showing 87%. This one is showing a little higher. Not exactly sure why, but you can kind of get the idea. That's where we're at. My goal overall is to take all of these firms and to have withdrawn $1 million in 2026. I think it is very, very plausible. If I add in all accounts last year, even just the second half of last year, I generated 960,000 and I could have been running a lot more accounts. I could have been running 4 or 5 times as many accounts. So I don't want to do that because I don't feel like it's wise. I feel like that's gambling. I feel like that's gamification of investing. And I have so much respect for investing. Not to say I'm a perfect trader, not to say I'm a perfect person, but I have a lot of respect for the field, for the industry that I think isn't always portrayed well on the internet. So I want to kind of keep it at that, somewhere between that kind of, 13 to 25. I might bump it up to about 35 accounts that I'm rotating throughout just because I love Lucid. Use code 6FTC. Take Profit Trader is still my favorite. Blue Guardian is simple. Use code 6FTC. Take Profit Trader, 6FTC. Lucid. Funding Ticks, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with them. I was really excited about them for a while. But that newest change on the 1 minute rule and then the deduction of some of the profits, which I know they put some of it back, but now they've got this whole big array of things that is not as sexy. So all the firms I use are on my link tree. Check that out below. They're also on the website. Check out sixfiguretradingcoach.com. But here I am. I will update you on these accounts, assuming I still have them. Let me be super human with you guys. Well, not always fun, but honest. Nonetheless, it's honest. But I will update you on these accounts in maybe about 20 to 30 days or 15 days. I have 5 of these accounts that are averaging somewhere between $15,000 and $27,000 in profit. I'd like to see what can happen. I know everyone's guru advice is to maybe just flip the accounts for $50 a day. But in my mind, that's not being a good steward of what we're building. My job is to come to the market and trade as I am. And with that much of a buffer, 1 to 2 minis is plenty. I'm not over risking. It is following the same strategies that I'm using. It is using the same rules. It is having the, ATR based, but comparable stop losses, right? Because you got to give a little bit of room for the ATR. You can't just say, I risk 10 points when sometimes 10 points is huge compared to the movement of the market. And sometimes 10 points is like a sneeze of a joke that's not even existent compared to the ATR and the movement and the volume in the market. So with a grain of salt, my stop loss is pretty comparable. My take profits and my management is pretty comparable. So I'm going to continue what I'm doing. And that's how I want to treat these accounts. If I get denied maybe 2 more times, I will do the whole flip it for 50 days thing, which I don't think is being a good steward of your money. I don't think it's being a good trader, nor do I think it's wisely using the capital that you have access to. So I just did a year-end video, something I should have included in that video. Definitely check it out. When I look at the performance of $962,000, this is not as great as it looks. Like, if you think about it, okay? If you truly think about, let me pull this up here just so we can kind of have it on screen. I'll make it a little bit bigger just to kind of zoom in on it a little bit. Figure on average, we're just going to round up and say this is 17 accounts at $50K a piece. So remember, some of them are 25. Most of that journey was 50K accounts. I have in December, November really switched to the 25 for most brokers, with the exception of Apex, or unless it's cheaper like Funding Ticks and Blue Guardian. But most of the time, let's just use it as an average. That's running $850,000 worth of capital at a time. So this is not, that's not remarkable, if you will, like for lack of better words. It's 100% gain, give or take. But this is not that remarkable. This is, 0.5% a day. This is 1% at a time. If you really look at the performance of what this equals compared to the amount of capital you're running, and this is obviously, best guess, I'd say it's somewhere between 50 and 120% gains on the actual capital ran at any given time. Because at 17 accounts, which again, I'm running, between 13 and 25 accounts, I'm going to be upping that for 2026. But that's running about, $800,000, $1 million, $750 in capital at a time. The amount of these gains is only 100% gains. So if you think about it, most of these days, all that is on the account is, and this might actually work. Hold on, let me try this. So if I come up here and I change this, and take it with a grain of salt, I feel like the prop firms aren't as accurate. So I definitely don't think this is big picture accurate, but you do your own math, you do you, boo-boo. I'm just going to go off the day-to-day stuff. When I say most of this is not as remarkable as we make it seem, and this was, by the way, the best month. Okay, this was one of the best months. It was Perfect Green Month. Most of these days on the capital that is there, something's wrong here. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong. That would be making $800,000 in a day or $700,000 a day, which I definitely did not do. So something on this day is wrong. Either way, looking at the vast majority, most of these are 0.2% on the day of the capital that you're managing. This is 0.4%, 0.3%. So that's going to be kind of the norm, right? If I go now, oh, wow, that was actually July. Holy cow. I'm dying to see. Oh, wow. Those were all good days, but those were 0%. That's interesting. So don't quote me how this all works. I don't know what I don't know. A little bit better, a little bit something to go off of. You'll notice most of this on the capital at the time. It's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. I'm going to have to go back to July because that's the month this is starting. I wonder if I just go to December. Let's do November 30th. That was a perfectly green month. Let's only look at this month for a second. There we go. So November, you'll notice it's not a whole bunch in gains, which I don't think this is exactly accurate. I don't know what the heck is wrong with it, but I do think that these numbers are about accurate. 0.3 on the day, 0.6 on the day, 0.81. Because figure if you're making $300 on a $50,000 account, if you're making $150 in a 5K account or $1,500 on a $150,000 account, that's only 1%. That's 1% gains on the account. And of course, it's a little bit more subjective. I know because there's drawdown, et cetera, but in general, the gains you're making are very unremarkable. They're not out of this world. So don't quote me on how that works because I have no stinking idea. I have no idea how they calculate profit. The percentages on TradeZella, I don't think is accurate, but I don't think any of the tracking platforms are super accurate for actual mathing. I think they're all kind of off. So either way, just to kind of add that in there for the Apex goals that I had this year, I think it's very, very plausible and possible to announce if I've increased my skill set, and that's an if, right? I can't afford to go on tilt. If I go on tilt, I lose all my progress for however many days, weeks, or months that was. So if I'm doing better, trading slightly more accounts, holding my accounts longer, I genuinely think that withdrawing approximately this amount, okay, by the end of 2026 is very plausible. Now, I figure what it will cost me to do that is somewhere in and around 60,000 if I'm being responsible, and up to 100,000 if I'm not. And that's kind of a big window, I know, but you got to think the Apex accounts, even at their best sale, again, use code 6FTC. Right now they're $20, and then the activation fee is $120 or $140. Don't quote me. That makes it, less than $150 an account, right? But between a lot of accounts, okay? So you're going to be cycling some of these out, and no matter how you look at it, some of these are going to get cycled. The other firms like Lucid, Funding, Take Profit Trader between $50 and $100, and I'm using that loosely. Blue Guardian, $50 and $100, right? Check out the link tree below for any of the firms that I'm using. Most of the codes are 6FTC, but you're going to be spending somewhere between $50 and $200 depending on the account size. If you're cycling them, God forbid we blow a few, I think that's pretty practical. So the goal would be to spend less than $2,000 or $3,000 a month and maybe stop. But if I have bigger goals for earnings, I'm not going to be able to do that. So we'll see how it ends at the end of the year. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and show you my Apex account that I'm going to be really focusing on to hopefully get this up to, what is that? About $100,000 worth of profit and achieve the 5 payouts so I can be able to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, happy trading. If you find this content helpful, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the website, sixfiguretradingcoach.com, and tell me, have you gotten payouts with Apex? If so, what did you do? What was your kind of takeaway moment? What is your kind of piece of advice or things you have questions on? So I think we can all learn from each other, go and grow together. I think that's the best part of having a community. So if you have any feedback from me, definitely don't be afraid to show it and share it. Otherwise, happy trading. Cheers to 2026. Take care and God bless.